I surprised my wife with a used car that I bought with my bonus, hoping it would make her trips to see her mother more frequent. But when she saw it, she just laughed and quipped, "I didn't realize bonuses came with embarrassment packages." With a playful smirk, she tossed the keys back to me and said, "You keep it, it suits you." All I could do was smile. Fast forward to this morning, and my phone screen is lit up with 30 missed calls from her, each one more desperate than the last, begging me to undo what I did. I'm choosing to be discreet about the details because my wife reads my main social media. But yes, it's that kind of situation now. Here I am, at 3:47 a.m., unable to sleep and staring at my phone, trying to make sense of what just happened in my marriage this week. Writing this out feels cathartic. Somehow, for some background, I've been married to Madison for 8 years. We're both in our 30s and, thankfully, we don't have kids right now. We've had our share of peaks and valleys like any couple, but nothing this intense. At least, that's what I thought. Let me set the scene for you. Madison's mom lives around 40 miles away in the countryside. She's a lovely lady, though she's been dealing with some health issues recently. It's nothing too serious, but enough for Madison to want to visit her more regularly. The catch: we've been getting by with just one car since Madison's old clunker gave up the ghost last year. My car isn't anything special, it just gets me to work and back, but we've managed. I've been dropping Madison off wherever she needs to be, but for months, she's been frustrated about having to borrow a friend's car or work around my schedule just to see her mom. I understand having that kind of independence is important. Then something unexpected happened. I received my first bonus in 5 years, a solid $5,800. It's not life-changing, but it was certainly a welcome surprise. Just as if the stars had aligned, everything fell perfectly into place. I have to say, this bonus was incredibly meaningful to me. I've been putting in the hard work and long hours at this job for years, rarely getting the acknowledgement I hoped for. But now, at last, there was some recognition. I dedicated the full weeks to meticulously researching dependable used cars under $5,000. I evaluated 11 different options, checking their history and reliability. My friend, who's quite the car enthusiast, agreed to accompany me on this mission. Together, we took 8 of them out for a test drive. Then, like a gem in the rough, I found it, a 2014 sedan with just 78,000 miles on it, priced at $4,200. Everything was perfect: a clean title, solid tires, and a freshly replaced timing belt. The ideal ride from Madison, so she could visit her mom whenever her heart desired. It was last Saturday, at 10:15 in the morning, that I pulled into the driveway with her shiny new car. I can still picture it vividly. I glanced at my watch, filled with excitement, and sent her a text to come outside for a surprise. Across the street, our neighbor Atlas was washing his truck, perfectly positioned to witness this special moment unfold. A grand gesture, right? Or maybe not so much. I felt ridiculously foolish in that moment. Madison emerged, still in her pajamas, her hair a wild mess, clutching her morning coffee. There I was, beaming from ear to ear as I held out the car keys with hope in my heart. Her reaction was anything but what I'd imagined. She glanced at the car, then at me, and back again. And then she laughed in it, a joyful laugh, but the kind that twists something deep inside you. Madison quipped about how she didn't know my bonus came with an embarrassment package. She remarked it looked like something a college student would end up driving after totaling their real car. Then, with a smirk, she tossed the keys back to me, saying I should keep it since it matched my face. Meanwhile, Atlas stood across the street, pretending not to eavesdrop on the whole scene. I just stayed there, smiling awkwardly, and managed a simple okay. I took the keys back, turned around, and quietly went inside, without uttering another word. While Madison was absorbed in her phone that evening, seemingly oblivious to my presence, a wave of real financial concern swept over me, thing I'd neglected for too long. For the first time in years, Madison and I are earning similar salaries, Yet inexplicably, I'm shouldering 80% of our expenses. Most of my paycheck funnels into our joint account, while hers, well, where does it disappear to? Determined to find out, I finally took the plunge and scrutinized our finances, getting the full picture I should have looked at ages ago. To my shock, I discovered that Madison has been concealing 3 credit cards, each maxed out on unnecessary splurges, fancy gadgets, designer labels, $200 hair appointments. Meanwhile, I'm stuck cycling through the same 5 shirts I've been wearing since 2018. But that wasn't all. I unearthed a hidden savings account with $2,700, money that should have been supporting our joint expenses. I laid everything out on a list. The 3 secret credit cards with a collective debt of $11,400, that elusive savings stash, and a shopping penchant explaining her inability to pitch in equally. And what added fuel to the fire? Multiple premium subscriptions she signed up for without my knowledge. Regular transfers to her sister, who's been asking for loans more often than not, had become the norm. While I was compiling this list late at night, something hit me hard. Madison hadn't shown gratitude in years for picking up the tab most of the time, not for being her personal chauffeur, and not for listening patiently as she complained about wanting to see her mom more frequently. All while I was skipping meals to squirrel away savings for our future. On a Sunday morning, I woke up early, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. Madison lay next to me, still deep in slumber, enjoying her habit of sleeping in. In that quiet moment, I made an irreversible decision. I transferred my share of the next month's expenses into our joint account. Then I took the remainder of my savings, emptied every last cent, and moved it to a new account at a different bank. I adjusted my direct deposits to the new account and froze our shared credit card. When Monday morning arrived, I left for work at the crack of dawn, 7:32 a.m. To be exact, Madison was still lost in her dreams. As a final gesture, I left the car keys on the dining table, with the title already signed over to her. On the kitchen counter lay a set of car keys, accompanied by a terse note. Insurance covered for 6 months. Registration complete. It's yours, whether you like it or not. The words felt like a cold jab, a reminder of the unresolved tension simmering beneath the surface. Needing a moment of clarity, I blocked her number for just 8 hours, giving myself some breathing room to sort through the chaos. By lunchtime, I had reached out to a financial advisor to help me unravel the tangled web of our finances. During my afternoon break, I meticulously documented every financial contribution I'd made over the past 2 years, ensuring I had a clear picture of my stake. By the end of the day, I had updated my direct deposit information, ensuring my next paycheck would bypass our joint account. This was my first step toward independence, a quiet declaration of self-preservation. When I got home, the atmosphere was eerily unchanged. Madison greeted me with her usual nonchalance, as if nothing had shifted. The car keys still sat where I'd left them, a silent provocation. She casually asked what was for dinner, her tone betraying none of the turmoil churning inside me. I offered a thin smile and told her I wasn't hungry before retreating to the basement, me new sanctuary where I'd been sleeping to escape the emotional storm upstairs. This morning, at 6 a.m. sharp, I left for work in my car, the note's words replaying in my mind. It was a new day, and I was determined to navigate it on my own terms. By 10:27 a.m., my phone was practically vibrating off the table. Madison was calling relentlessly. Her first voicemail was filled with anger, something about a declined credit card while she was out shopping. The second message sounded confused, and by the third, I could hear the panic in her voice. It's been 14 hours since that initial call, and I've ignored 30 to missed calls, 47 text messages, and 8 voicemails. Each message grows more desperate. The latest one, just 5 minutes ago, echoed in my mind. Richard, please, I don't understand what's happening. All our accounts are empty. The credit cards won't work. What did you do? Please call me back. What did I do? I simply stopped being her ATM. The car she once mocked still sits proudly in our driveway, gleaming under the morning sun. I gave it a thorough wash and wax just yesterday, and it's never looked better. Tomorrow, I'm taking a leap and discussing my future prospects with someone who could change everything. I don't know exactly what's on the horizon, but for the first time in years, I feel like I'm steering the course of my own life. Growing up, my mom was my rock. She raised me single-handedly on a shoestring budget, teaching me two invaluable lessons: work relentlessly for what you earn, and never let anyone treat you like you're worth less than everything. It took me 8 years to really grasp that second lesson. Update. Wow, I never imagined my original story would resonate this much. My inbox is flooded. Thank you all for the overwhelming support and awards. Since many of you have been asking for an update, here it is. It's been 9 intense days since the initial fallout. Madison has been swinging between sending furious messages, giving me the silent treatment, and then bizarrely trying to pretend as if everything's normal. It's been a whirlwind, but I'm feeling more grounded than ever. The emotional roller coaster is utterly draining. Alright, I have to confess something. There have been times, like yesterday morning, when I almost gave in. She brewed coffee and left a cup on the counter, just for me. It was the first kind and thoughtful gesture she had made in quite some time. For a fleeting 30 seconds, I considered letting everything fall back into place, pretending all was well. But then, the sound of her laugh from that day in the driveway crept back into my mind, a laugh so dismissive that it sent Atlas scurrying back into his garage in the middle of washing his car. It's the laugh that haunts my thoughts at 2 a.m., preventing me from moving on. Since my last update, here's what's unfolded. The day after I left that stack of financial documents on the desk, the ones that revealed all her hidden expenditures, Madison cornered me in the kitchen. She pulled the old trick of making me feel like I was losing my grip on reality. She insisted I was blowing a silly comment out of proportion, reminding me that couples are supposed to share finances, and accusing me of being controlling. I was accused of being overbearing, keeping a close eye on her spending like some kind of stalker, even though the credit cards were meant solely for emergencies. Allegedly, I was financially abusive for cutting her off. I just nodded silently, finished assembling my sandwich, and retreated to the basement. Apparently, my lack of a heated response wasn't what she had anticipated. Later, I discovered that she had immediately called her best friend, Navia. How do I know? Because the next evening, while Madison was at her yoga class, Navia appeared at our doorstep, visibly concerned and ready to give me a serious talking to. That conversation turned out to be quite revealing. Navia began accusing me of being selfish and controlling. In response, I calmly handed her my phone, showing screenshots of Madison's spending over the last 6 months. As Navia scrolled through the expense share appointments totaling $1,675, clothing purchases of $3,240, $890 on solo restaurant lunches, and $2,130 on gifts for her selfie, watched her expression shift dramatically. Madison had been secretly funneling $2,400 payments to her sister's credit cards on top of an additional $4,750 for other hidden expenses, all the while contributing exactly $650 per month to our joint bills. This amount didn't even cover half of our mortgage. When Navia handed my phone back, her face was a canvas of genuine shock. Madison had painted a picture for everyone that I was a stingy control freak, scrutinizing every dime she spent. The truth was starkly different. I hadn't been watching at all. That neglect was the real issue. The most startling revelation. Navia hesitated, then nervously let it slip about a girl's getaway to Miami planned for next month. 4 days in a beach resort, every luxury included. The estimated cost for each person, a hefty $3,200. Madison had already secured her spot with an $800 non-refundable deposit straight from our joint savings, of course. Navia left, visibly puzzled and uncomfortable, leaving a whirlwind of revelations in her wake. It's been a while since I've heard from her, and Madison hasn't brought her up either. I find that intriguing. A couple of days ago, I decided to give Madison's mom a call. We've always had a good rapport, and I genuinely wanted to know how she was doing health-wise. Madison has been citing her mom's fragile condition as a reason for several things lately, including why she needs to visit more often, hence, the need for the car. To my surprise, Madison's mom sounded perfectly well actually, more than well. She was all set to embark on a 6-week cruise with her boyfriend. She mentioned she hadn't seen Madison in nearly 2 months, and there certainly hadn't been any talk of frequent visits. When I casually brought up the car issue, there was a noticeable pause. Then, Madison's mom started asking some pointed questions about our financial situation. That's when it came out Madison had been telling her mom that we were struggling financially, and she blamed it on my so-called spending habits. I was accused of having gambling problems and being the reason they didn't see much of each other. None of these accusations were true, absolutely none. When I ended my call with her mom, I made up my mind. I had been unsure about how far I should go with this, but that call was the turning point. I spent the evening preparing for what I call the reckoning. Yesterday morning, I got up early, brewed some coffee, and set up my laptop at the kitchen table. When Madison came downstairs around 11:30 a.m., I calmly asked her to join me for a talk. I had meticulously prepared a spreadsheet, a beautifully color-coded masterpiece. It broke down everything: our actual incomes, which were nearly the same, our contributions to the bills, where I covered 80% and she only 18%, her hidden credit card debts, and even a secret savings account she had. I also calculated what her fair share of the monthly expenses should be. This was my moment to lay everything bare. I slid the paper across the table, locking eyes with her as I explained that this was our new arrangement, effective immediately. Her share was set at $2,450 a month, a sum well within her means if she'd only curb her frivolous spending. Madison glanced at the sheet, then looked up at me, her eyes narrowing before she let out a familiar, dismissive laugh, same one she'd given me in the driveway. It was a cynical sound that seemed to say I was bluffing, that I'd never follow through because somehow I needed her more than she needed me. Without another word, she snatched her purse and headed out for yet another yoga class. I stayed back, sipping my coffee, a knowing smile spreading across my face. By 6 a.m. the next morning, I was out the door for work, having just completed the final touches on my plan. I'd removed Madison as an authorized user on all remaining credit cards and transferred only my portion of this month's mortgage into our joint account. Her personal bills were no longer set for automatic payment from that account, and I'd changed all the passwords to our shared streaming services. The ball was now firmly in her court. I left her upcoming bill printouts on the table, clearly marked with her share highlighted. Meanwhile, the car she once ridiculed still sits in our driveway. I've been washing it every week, even adding one of those fresh pine tree air fresheners. Just yesterday, while I was giving it a wax, our neighbor stopped by and noted it seemed like a solid and reliable car. I just nodded and mentioned the fantastic gas mileage. As I type this update, my phone is buzzing nonstop. Madison's first car payment was due today, but the automatic payment failed, along with her phone bill, gym membership, and beauty subscription box. The first message read, "WTF Richard." By the 5th, she wrote, "This isn't funny anymore." By the 12th, she asked, "How am I supposed to pay all these by myself? I haven't replied to any of them yet." Honestly, I'm not trying to be harsh here. I'm not even considering divorce at this point. I'm done letting someone take advantage of me, especially when they show little respect for my hard work or attempts to be kind. The car keys have remained untouched on the counter where I left them 9 days ago. In about an hour, I'm heading home. My mom is coming over for a dinner with just the two of us. Madison is still in the dark about the dinner plans. It's bound to be an interesting evening when she returns from wherever she really goes during her so-called yoga sessions and finds us dining without her. I'll keep you updated as things progress. For now, I'm just watching the situation unfold, one declined payment notification at a time. Here's a final update for those who've been following along. It's been 3 weeks since my last post, and though I hadn't planned to update again, the ongoing flood of DMs asking for closure compelled me to share. Remember the 30 to missed calls I told you about in my first post? That was just the tip of the iceberg. My phone's call log now looks like someone hit redial repeatedly 147 calls in just 21 days, not including the barrage of texts and voicemails. The morning following an awkward dinner with my mom, I was hit by a whirlwind of emotions. I drifted from anger to desperation, then 2 tears, and somehow circled all the way back to anger. It was 5:03 a.m. when I stumbled upon Madison sitting at the kitchen table, shrouded in darkness. The sight of her startled me when I flipped the light on. Her eyes were swollen and her hair unwashed, while she was still clad in yesterday's clothes. Before her lay a spreadsheet I had painstakingly compiled to track our finances. Now, it was littered with her handwriting, numbers surrounded by question marks, and coffee stains seeping through the paper. A pang of sympathy flickered within me, but vanished as soon as she spoke. Madison expressed her embarrassment over her card being declined in front of her friends while buying coffee, her shame at asking Nevi to pay for her lunch, and the frustration of canceling her hair appointment due to lack of funds. Then, her tone shifted to accuse me of being controlling and manipulative, as if normal couples don't keep financial tabs. I just silently went about my morning routine, making breakfast, pouring coffee, and spreading peanut butter on my toast, all while she vented what seemed like a full-on breakdown over the necessity of paying her own bills. I'm not heartless. I posed one straightforward question. Had she ever thought about how it felt for me to stand in our driveway, watching her laugh at a gift I'd spent weeks picking out? She was silent, just stared blankly. That's when the doorbell rang, piercing the sanctuary of pre-dawn silence at 5:47 a.m. Who shows up at such an ungodly hour? It was Madison's mother. Madison had rung her mom in the middle of the night, pouring out her heart about being financially cut off, prompting her mother to abandon her morning flight and rush to her aid. After getting the urgent call, the crew I mentioned earlier hit the road and drove straight to our house 4 hours of pure determination to tackle whatever crisis her daughter was embroiled in. What unfolded next was anything but ordinary. Madison's mom stormed in, took one sharp look at her daughter, then glanced at me, whipping up breakfast, and demanded to know what on earth was happening. Madison launched into her narrative, painting me as the villain and evil husband, guilty of financial abuse and control. Her mom listened intently, her expression unreadable, then calmly asked to see the financial records I had meticulously prepared. I handed over my laptop, which contained comprehensive spreadsheets, screenshots, bank statements, the whole 9 yards. Madison's mom delved into the data in one that felt like an eternity, but was precisely 43 minutes. He counted while the silence between Madison and me was thick and awkward. Then, in a twist I never saw coming, her mom turned to Madison and, in words I'll paraphrase, but were surely close, said, "I didn't raise you to be this person. This man has been supporting you while you deceive and hoard money. You're 33 years old, time to grow up." At that moment, Madison broke down into tears, yet her mom remained unfazed, simply asking to see the car that had ignited this entire ordeal. We all walked out to the driveway where the sedan sat, quietly blanketed in morning dew. Her mom assessed it carefully, inquiring about the mileage and maintenance history, and then nodded approvingly. She remarked that Madison would be fortunate to have such a dependable car, recalling how her own first vehicle was a 15-year-old station wagon with no air conditioning, bought with money her father had painstakingly saved. Madison's expression throughout was priceless, anticipating a lie. She instead faced a sobering reality check. An hour later, with shrugging acceptance, her mom mentioned a cruise she needed to catch, bid me goodbye with a hug, and advised Madison to call once she got her priorities sorted. The following days were wrapped in an odd silence. Madison mostly lingered in our bedroom, while I found refuge in the basement. We'd occasionally cross paths in the hallway or kitchen, exchanging awkward hellos. The distance was uncomfortable, yet felt necessary. Then, last Monday, when I arrived home, I was stunned to find Madison deep cleaning the house, not just tidying up, but really getting into the kind of work we usually pay someone to do twice a month. The bathroom grout glistened from a thorough scrubbing. The kitchen cabinets sparkled as if they'd been polished, and even the baseboards were free of dust. Sitting on the counter was a neat pile of papers, her credit card statements for all 3 cards, each with a handwritten payment plan. It included a budget worksheet she had printed from a financial planning site and a checking account statement from her bank. I noticed she had cleared out her secret savings to tackle the card with the steepest interest rate. Next to it all was a handwritten list titled Current Monthly Expenses, detailing costs like credit card minimum payments of $437, a phone bill of $112, a hair appointment cut down to $200 from $400, a $75 birthday gift for her mom, an $89 GYM membership, and a monthly contribution of $2,450 toward household bills. That last amount, their fair share of our expenses, was circled, and below it, she had written, "I can do this." I didn't mention any of it, nor did she, but the very next day, $2,450 appeared in our joint account for the first time in years. She contributed her full share without needing a reminder. That evening, I discovered Madison sitting in the car, hands on the steering wheel, just staring ahead. When I approached, she rolled down the window, complimented the car's interior, and asked if I'd show her how to connect her phone to the Bluetooth. She mentioned she might drive it to work the next day, just to see how it handled. We spent the next 20 minutes exploring the car's nifty features: backup camera, the surprisingly good sound system, the spacious truncle in a straightforward, practical chat free of sarcasm or eye-rolling. Just before I headed back inside, Madison said something that truly surprised me. She confessed she had looked up the car's value online and realized it was a great deal for its mileage and condition, admitting she had been an ungrateful bitch. Her words, not mine. That was 12 days ago, and since then, Madison has been driving the car regularly. Every day, she's been using the car and has pitched in for groceries without needing to be asked. We had to cancel the Miami trip, but her friends were really understanding. She even managed to get refunds for some unopened online shopping orders. Twice now, she's called her mom just to catch up, not to ask for money, and she's been waking up before 9 a.m. on weekends. Last night, I moved my belongings back upstairs from the basement. It's not because things are magically resolved, but because that futon was doing a number on my back. We're both adults capable of sharing a bed while we navigate our issues. This morning, over coffee, Madison suggested we try couples counseling. She told me she'd already found a therapist who's covered by our insurance, offered to make the appointment, and even said she'd drive us there in her car. I agreed. Honestly, I'm unsure if our marriage is going to withstand the long haul. 8 years of financial imbalance and disrespect don't just vanish because the credit card gets declined. There's a lot to untangle. But then, I came home yesterday to find Madison had washed and waxed her car. She'd put up one of those phone holder clips and hung a small plant from the rearview mirror. Little touches that declared, "This is mine, and I'm holding onto it." Sometimes, the most powerful response is some grand confrontation, but witnessing someone come to terms with reality when the safety net is pulled away. While I was fetching the mail yesterday, our neighbor stopped by to say Madison had asked him for oil change recommendations. He mentioned how glad he was to see us working through things. I just nodded, saying we're taking it one day at a time. My mom phoned this morning to check on me. She said she was proud of how I've handled things and remarked that my dad, who left when I was 4, could have learned something from me about standing up for himself without resorting to cruelty. That comment hit me harder than I expected. So, that's where we are. As it stands, this isn't a fairy tale conclusion or a dramatic breakup. It's just two imperfect individuals trying to see if there's still something left to hold onto once the chaos subsides. The car that ignited all this turmoil is still parked in our driveway, only now it goes by a new nickname. Madison calls it reality check, and ironically, it couldn't be more appropriate.